Right. We should be done with Brio, at least for now. I have no clue if we're going to return to the planet later on in this game. All I know for sure right now is that we've got to get to our ship and get back to the Discount Cloud City. Hopefully, any other upgrades we need to make progress will be on the very planet we're supposed to be focused on at this point of the questionably done story. Again, this game doesn't really feel like it's as exploration focused as the other Metroids we've gone through. And I'd say we have a healthy amount of experience in the franchise at this point. Definitely hope we won't have to see any more fuel gel. It's not like we're ever gonna need to refuel our ship despite the sheer number of times we take off and occasionally go to a different star system over the course of the game. Hell, the Federation as a whole doesn't seem to be using this planet as a fueling station of any kind. The only machinery working on the fuel gel belonged to the lizards who used to have a civilization here. Now none of their people even know how to operate this stuff. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't just break it, since they apparently despised the Lords of Technology so much, they continued their genocide when their planet was already fucked beyond the point of repair. The only reason we came to Brio was because the pirates dropped a phazon seed onto the planet, and we wanted to remove that tool from the pirates' toolbox. I'm not even sure how destroying the Leviathans is hurting the pirates, really. What do they even gain by dropping them in these various locations? Yeah, back to Elysia. There are certainly fewer locations to land on this planet than Brio or Norian. I'd probably appreciate that more if we didn't have to do so much island hopping to get from building to building there. It's funny how much I just haven't liked traveling in this game once we were done saving Norian from the pirate assault. And I've possibly used the word funny so often, especially in this playthrough, that the word's kind of losing its meaning. Similar to how me using the word awkward feels a bit tired. Well, I can't think of any better words to use. I hope that's not too annoying for anyone. I may really like that jingle, but I much prefer it happening when I load the game up or when the game initially starts. Is there a particular reason they changed the trigger for the jingle other than they really wanted people to like using the ship? Right. Misremembered which door the wall jump thing we saw before leaving the planet was. Not a big issue, it's still in the same building. There we are. Time to see what's so important that we had to search an entirely different planet to find the way up here. Wonderful. Another bit where we're supposed to use hyper mode to move on, which probably means another cutscene trying to show that the corruption is getting worse. My mistake. We're apparently saving the next bit of phase-on corruption happening to us for later. Possibly when we destroy the seed on this planet, but... possibly some other time? Okay, looks like we've got a long rail line here. At least we won't have to use the grapple beam to go across it. We just need to get the tram running. A tram that needs the speed booster because it's not like we got too many other options to activate things at this one. And apparently it wouldn't let us activate it in morph ball form for some reason. Guess they didn't want to bother having us in ball form in the cutscene. Not too big of an issue, but still kind of odd. Right, so when we went through a teleporter on Bria, we ended up in a very small ice section. But in Elysia, we use a tram to go from one set of floating buildings to another set of floating buildings, and they all look the same. The environmental and map design for the places we go to in this game just are not doing it for me. Why is it that the first Metroid Prime had such damn great environmental variety and good map design, but Metroid Prime 2 lost the environmental stuff, and Metroid Prime 3 lost the level design on top of that? Was it just a matter of them not having enough time to work with from game to game? After all, Prime 2 came out somewhere around a year or two after Prime 1 did, and while Prime 3 had around 3 years, a decent amount of that time was probably spent trying to figure out the new hardware the game would be put onto. And frankly, the 3D Metroids are a good deal larger in terms of the ground we cover, which helps the games last around 20 hours or so compared to the 2D games that are around 10 hours or less. Or if you're a fan of speedrunners, a hell of a lot less than even that. I have no clue what the speedrunning scene in the Metroid Prime games is like, but I severely doubt you're going to have anything less than 5 hours for this game, even if you skip cutscenes. Hold on, let me check. Okay. So 10th place is around 16 hours, 32 minutes, around what I was expecting, and first place is... Holy shit, 2 hours and 13 minutes. I'm pretty sure I've passed that point by now. Doesn't matter if you have the hyper mode on with the shield on, buddy. The shield is just as easy to break. Wow, haven't seen someone tested that effectively since the Xbox exclusive Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. I should probably be more concerned about the sheer amount of damage we took from the bastard hosing us down before we managed to kill him. But again, I'm not really tempted to use the hyper mode against enemies that go into hyper mode all that often. We still do damage, and we got plenty of health to spare in a more conventional fight. Hell, considering my lack of respect for non-boss enemies in most Metroid games, the enemy going into hyper mode is a decent counter to that issue. Okay, pretty sure he died from the residual heat of our plasma beam, not the beam itself. And apparently the other pirates decided to jump down because they didn't know I unintentionally went down that elevator. Again, not really clear how the fourth hyper mode is a detriment to us. We don't spend any of our health while we gain the extra firepower of the hyper mode. It's practically the enemy committing suicide. But then considering the sheer number of pirates we've killed over the course of the franchise, them attacking Samus at all is suicide in itself. Nuclear? Okay, why do we have Phazon and Fuel Gel, two fantasy energy sources, and now Nuclear, a real-world one? Not that I've never seen nuclear reactors in sci-fi stories before, it's just that I'm having a hard time imagining the Metroid universe using it much, if at all, considering everything we've seen of it so far. It doesn't help that Nintendo is a Japanese company, and Japanese writers do not throw nukes into a story lightly. But then, Retro Studios did the work on the Metroid Prime trilogy, and they were an American crew. And Retro Studios was baffled that Nintendo didn't want Samus to do any traditional bounty hunting, like actually searching for people. And Metroid has always been more popular in the United States than it was in Japan. It's kind of weird there. I guess it's just one of those things where I should just wait and see what they actually do with it before judging it too much. Though again, this game story does not fill me with all that much confidence. It doesn't look like we can drop any lower. Thought that star thing on the wall would be scannable since it's so distinct. Huh. So it's easier to take down dropships with the plasma gun. Significantly faster than it was all the way back on Norian, that's for sure. I kind of wish I could see a health bar so I could more accurately judge how much more powerful the plasma beam is from the power beam. Not that we have any ability to go back to the power beam for any real reason to. I'm just curious. Ah, some flyers with interesting armor on them. Right. Missiles are the way to go against these guys, and we've got more missiles than an ace combat aircraft. Okay, so it's still going to be a bit of a problem dealing with these guys, even though we've got the right tools for the job. Especially since it's annoyingly easy for them to shake off my lock-on. And I have the distinct feeling we aren't going to be able to break their lock-on quite so easily. Not that we get any kind of notifications for if the enemy locks onto us, since we can easily tank their rockets. How creative. The person searching the sky for answers was called the Searcher. We've been seeing a good number of things with sections that can be grabbed with our ship, which gives me the distinct feeling that's going to be our absolute next upgrade. Right, we need the spider ball as well if we want to get more things done in this room. My brain keeps thinking of the spider ball as an early to mid-game upgrade, possibly because I'm blocking the absolute hell of gaining it in Metroid Prime 2 out of my mind, but I suppose grabbing it while we're still on Elysia would count as the mid-game, and, well, we aren't done with the planet just yet. Okay, apparently we've got some more terminals we're gonna need to repair, and I know we can't blame Gore for that one. Again, I'm not really getting too much of a sense of environmental storytelling in this game, and that's usually a strength of the Metroid franchise. Wonder how many more times we're gonna have to do this sort of thing. At least it's not as obnoxious a system as the usual motion control thing to move around in this game, mostly because it asks for us to move the pointer, and I have that emulated as my mouse, which allows for more precision work than the various buttons I had to assign for moving the Wii's nunchuck in various different ways. Well, that's quite a large set of gears. Good God, why do I feel the technology-based temple on Aether was better done than the tech world we're currently on here? Metroid Prime 2 was pretty bad with the environments they put us through. So why, right now, am I comparing that aspect of that game favorably compared to this one? And why the hell does the game feel the need to give us that tutorial message about the screw attack when we've used it a good number of times just to get this far? Hell, the game didn't feel the need to give us that kind of tutorial about this upgrade when we first got it in the previous clip. It just seems awkward to me. These things weren't all that interesting to deal with the first time we saw them back on the Olympus. Why are we still dealing with them 20 clips in? At the very least, come up with some kind of palette swap that is a little more dangerous, since their gimmick isn't really anything other than trying to show off part of the control scheme of this game. I assume by volatile they mean the nuclear stuff we saw earlier. Shouldn't be too difficult to sever those little cables. Wasn't expecting it to open up, just move out of the way somehow. Ah, well, I suppose the important thing is we can get through this room now. Okay, bit of a long distance to read some lore. Again, really wish I cared enough about the lore in this game to feel invested in it. It feels more like I'm scanning them for the sake of getting that little red emblem thing that's probably going to mean something when we get to the endgame score screen. Ah! So the robots on this planet fought against the Federation for a bit. Not too sure why they bothered landing on this planet, but again, I feel like this place is pretty forgettable and throwaway compared to many of the other Metroid locations. Are there even any resources to gather on this planet when the only terrain we've been able to see and go to are the floating buildings? And we've got a bunch of forgettable, fragile bots walking in a line on that ridge. That's not very threatening. Bots that melt like they're made of plastic, not metal. Not sure if I'm pleased or disappointed they didn't try to do anything on the bridges we ran by. It's not like I was a fan of the collapsing bridge early on at this same damn planet. Again, the execution in this game has been rather iffy, where even things that on paper should have been awesome just keep falling flat. Well, we're certainly getting closer to something, and it's not just the end time for this clip.
Samus, I will unlock this area, allowing you to command your ship to land.
Is there a reason you couldn't have unlocked this landing zone earlier so we could get things done faster? Ah, because apparently we need to use a bomb slot in order to finish unlocking things here. Still feels like yet another annoying bit where they have us have to do something the long way when there should have been a faster option available for Samus in this world. Anyway, this is the final landing zone on the planet, at least based on the planet map when we pick places to land. Apparently we're not going to be landing on the Seed, which which again makes it feel even more like a throwaway location than Brio was. I know the ship Aurora unit reminded us about going to a kind of relatively major location, that ship, but I'm pretty sure we've got a planet or two to go to before the credits roll. Not that I know how long any of those locations are going to be, how padded out they are, or how obnoxious I'll find them when we get there. I only really remember some scattered moments in the game, not how the locations felt as a whole. Anyway, we've gained another upgrade for our ship, and in the next clip we'll be putting that to some use.
Samus, now that you have the ship grappled, you should be able to assemble the Theronian bomb.
It would have been nice to know that the Theronium bomb is a type of nuclear device, so I somehow doubt we'll even get to see the explosion through the clouds. And I'm not even sure why I'm against using nukes when Samus has outright destroyed planets in this franchise. Which suddenly gives me the impression that Samus occasionally has some drinks with Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater, though she's certainly smart enough to get away from the satellite of love before any of those movies start playing. There's only so much horror Samus can go through. That quality of bad movie is not among them.